Yo, what's up bros? Hope you're doing great. I want to apologize yet again for not being able to answer all your comments. Recently there's been so many that it's near impossible to answer all of them. So if I miss yours, I'm so sorry. And to the new people here, subscribe with bell notifications on to become a bro today. And enjoy in the video. This is part 12 of the story. If you want to know what happens before, you can find previous parts and the playlist in the description if you want to binge watch it. Now, after Mr. Lin recommended to Ackerman how he'll introduce him to Miss G, because Mr. Lin is thinking she can help with Ackerman starting up a new business because she's from a wealthy family, we can see Ackerman actually getting surprised as he's saying, "G, isn't she the..." To which Mr. Lin responds by saying that yes, she's that young lady. Now Mr. Lin is probably thinking Ackerman knows about Miss G because she's rich, thus probably famous, but what Ackerman really meant is probably something else that we'll find out later, because his hand started shaking as he utters, "It's really her." I see. He then asks Mr. Lin if this is all part of his plan and if this is what he expects Ackerman to do, and Mr. Lin being confident and oblivious as he answers by saying, "Yes, exactly." Now we see Ackerman thinking to himself again that Mr. Lin probably set up events long before he just walked into a bookstore in order for Mr. Lin's plan to come to fruition. This makes Ackerman more surprised because he thinks in order to know things like these, you have to be an omniscient being, which Mr. Lin is not, is he? Now we see Mr. Lin admiring his conversation skills and thinking to himself that when you have a customer who's as closed and distanced as the person in front of him, you need to use a lot of vague language in order to guide their thoughts, even if you don't understand their thoughts exactly. So I guess Mr. Lin isn't omniscient then. Who would have thought? Mr. Lin continues thinking that he has soul healing words ready for all situations, and when using vague language with people like these, you just have to wait for them to interpret your words how they best understand it, which will ultimately reveal their thoughts as well, even though they can be more of a reserved type of a person not willing to open up. Now Mr. Lin thinks that it's probably for the best for Ackerman to start his own business because most people really can't stand working 996 or 007. The first one basically means working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, and the second one meaning working from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. 7 days a week. I think not even someone as powerful as Mr. Lin would be able to handle these kinds of working hours. So Mr. Lin continues to think that yes, it's better for him to try and start his own company than to continue to slave away for the current one and constantly get bullied by his boss. But it's still completely up to Ackerman to decide. Mr. Lin also realizes how difficult it is to go from a corporate slave to a company owner, especially at the start, because you need so much time, money, and you also have to have a thorough plan on how to do it. He especially must not have any worries in order to be able to completely focus on his startup company, so Mr. Lin thinks he needs to give him some motivational words to help him out, but also to keep him as a customer. He also remembers that thanks to Miss G, Ackerman won't be jobless if he doesn't succeed in making his new company, because Low Resources is currently one of the biggest companies in Nokin, which is a company owned by Miss G's father. We then learn a bit more about this company, learning that it has the monopoly over all mining in the lower city district and is a percent owner of almost all the major companies in Nokin, making it one of the most influential companies in Nokin. From daily life to business, you can find this company somehow involved in all of it. And even though Mr. Lin has been in this world for about 3 years now, he can spot the influence of this company everywhere. He also remembers that after he came to this world, he spent a bit of time learning of its history, and this is when he found out that this company has been existing for a long time now. In the early stages, it was also in charge of the army in the lower city district, and that it has such a complicated history that it's so hard to learn everything about it, no matter how deep you dig. Now Mr. Lin explains that this company is so dominant and powerful because of how Nokin as a city is designed. being divided into two parts, the upper and lower city districts. Upper part is literally in the air above the lower part, and it's a man-made city built of steel, looking like a giant sphere from a bird point of view. Also, it's huge, so huge that the streets near Central District have their own names, but the rest of the streets are just marked with letters and numbers. Also, the upper district has no natural resources because it's completely man-made, and all of the natural resources are found in the lower district, which is also known as the underground or transition zone. And for now, the lower district is only accessible by the Truth Society, because residents of the lower district all suffer a strange illness caused by the fog of the high wall, because they are close to the border of Azir. And because of this illness, they have been in quarantine for millions of years now. Now we see some interactions between the people of the lower district, where a grandma is chasing her daughter and talking to her, while both of them look like lizards with Cthulhu looking like tentacles under their chins. Grandma is taking her daughter back home for food rationing, which is a dinner in their world, I guess, and while they're going back, the child comments how she found another rock and that they will be able to get another bowl of food because of this. Child's name is Red, and her grandma praises her, saying that she's really impressive, and as a reward for today, grandma will give her her part of the food today. Red then asks grandma what it's like in the city above them, and if its denizens also need to dig rocks all day in order to get some food to eat. Grandma tells Red how one day she'll be able to see it, and tell them grandma's stories as well. The grandma is holding a book from the Church of Plague, and now we go back to Mr. Lin, who figured out that the Church of Plague originates from the lower city district, and that it's still the most widespread religion there. And because these districts are so different, this led to many companies specializing in traveling between districts in order to gather resources for the upper city district, and all of this led to one mega company forming, and this one being the Lao Resources Development Corporation, the company whose owner is Miss G's father. Mr. Lin thinks how all of this seems so absurd, but how it would also be really nice if a company this big would actually find his bookstore and purchase the distribution rights. But that's just a dream, Mr. Lin thinks, and because of that he needs to focus on how to do his business properly. Now we go back to present, and Mr. Lin thinking how he never expected that the daughter of the owner of this company would become his regular customer, and how that's all thanks to this conversation skills, Mr. Lin thinks, and what he originally wanted to say is conmanship skills. Now, he thinks about Ackerman as well, and how he should get a job easily in Miss G's company, because this shouldn't be a big deal for her, Mr. Lin thinks. He then tells Ackerman how Miss G will probably be able to help him, and how recently she had some problems which Mr. Lin also helped solve, and how she should probably be back in the bookstore in a couple of days because she needs to return a book she borrowed. Ackerman thinks how it all makes sense now, thinking how the Scarlet Cult and the White Wolf clan started operating after Helix's White Wolf clan lost the battle against Miss G and her hunters group known as Spider, and how the White Wolf clan lost this battle so bad they had to sacrifice their second-in-command Casper in order for Helix, who's their first-in-command, to escape alive. And all of them lost because Miss G suddenly became stronger. And it makes perfect sense to Ackerman now, because Miss G received help from this bookstore owner, which made her more powerful and able to win this battle. Ackerman now thinks that the reason why Mr. Lin wants to help him is because he wants to bring the Truth Society to its knees, and this is why he sparked the conflict between Spider and Truth Society. Ackerman realizes that causing conflict between other people and toying with their emotions is how the devil usually operates, but even so, Mr. Lin's words still had such a strong effect on my heart. Ackerman thinks. So Ackerman presumes Mr. Lin's next step is organizing scattered hunters into a group which can rival the Truth Society and the Secret Instrument Tower. And if that's the case, it will turn Knockin' upside down and change the situation completely. And he's doing all of this because he's bored and wants to have fun, Ackerman thinks. And also how lucky he is to be his pawn. He then thinks how Mr. Lin used the flower at the start to extract his strongest desires, but didn't consume all of them. So now all the motivation Ackerman had to earn the Truth Society's approval is gone, and because of this, he's really looking forward to trying this new path Mr. Lin is offering. And even though it's unbelievably dangerous, Ackerman thinks, he still wants to do it, and he's probably crazy because of this. He then realizes there's one more thing he doesn't understand, as he asks Mr. Lin about borrowing books. Mr. Lin grins because he finally managed to reel in this new customer to borrow or even maybe buy a book. Mr. Lin then answers by saying he just wanted to mention some books because since this is the first time Ackerman is tackling these kinds of problems, there will be a lot of difficulties, and Mr. Lin has a perfect book for this. As he pulls out the book, which title is Starting a Business with Zero Capital. Ackerman thinks how Miss G also borrowed the book from Mr. Lin and unlocked more power. So it's obvious Mr. Lin transfers power to people through his books, Ackerman thinks. He then gets a bit scared, realizing that this library is filled with books, and if all of these books contain forbidden knowledge used to unlock powers in individuals. His thoughts get interrupted by Mr. Lin offering him a book, saying that this book is a perfect match for Ackerman right now, since it can help him find a new path and understand his aspirations. Mr. Lin tells him how they won't treat him as a tool anymore and how he'll no longer lose his dignity and the respect he deserves. As he offers Ackerman the book, we can see the true form of the book, and its name is Void Sacrifice. This surprises Ackerman a bit, and he reaches to open the book. As soon as he opens the book, he finds himself in a different dimension now, where everything around him is black. As he's walking through this black dimension, we can see void monsters all around him, and suddenly, he feels a pain in his chest, and in it a hole appears, as more and more monsters become visible around him, so much so that there's not an inch of empty space, and it's all crawling with void entities. Ackerman suddenly closes the book, trembling in fear, not realizing if this was a hallucination just now or maybe reality. He can still feel traces of the void in his body, and he feels connected to the void now. He thinks how the void creatures have taken notice of his existence now, as he utters, "So, this is the new path?" Mr. Lin confirms this and says that he has to use all the opportunities given, saying that if there's no risk in doing the business, anybody would do it, but that this book is a knowledge gifted from the others who have reached the end of that road, and if he understands the book, everything will be a lot easier. Now what Mr. Lin is implying here by people who have reached the end of that road is people who started their own businesses and were successful, and after making a lot of money, they wrote books to help other entrepreneurs when they decide to start their own business. But of course, Ackerman understands it completely differently, thinking how Mr. Lin is talking about void entities Ackerman just met. And also thinks how after his body has been connected to the void like this, and he can establish communication with these beings whenever he wishes now, and if he can offer them worthy sacrifices, he'll receive their blessings and gifts. And these gifts will also depend on the mood of these beings. So catching opportunities means finding the right moment to receive their blessings, is what Ackerman thinks. He then thinks how void beings are all definitely of indescribable level, and how powerful Mr. Lin must be to be able to receive their gifts whenever he wants. Ackerman then thanks Mr. Lin for these helpful lessons, and Mr. Lin responds how this journey will be a long and difficult one, and how Ackerman needs to be strong both mentally and in other ways, and that being opportunistic alone won't be enough. Mr. Lin tells Ackerman that next time they see each other, he hopes Ackerman will achieve his goals. Ackerman bows down in honor, saying he'll do his best and won't disappoint Mr. Lin. As he's leaving the bookstore, he thinks of Mr. Lin as a selfless and magnificent being, and how it's a great honor to be a pawn of someone like Mr. Lin. As he leaves, Mr. Lin tells him to come back again, exhales in satisfaction, thinking that he has helped another lost soul after teaching it the ways of life. Now that's all for today's video, bros. If you want to find out what happens next, subscribe with bell notifications on, because it's coming out tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I'm so sorry that this video today is a bit shorter. I actually have to take care of some things in real life, and because of this, I thought maybe of not uploading at all today, but then I realized it's better to post a short video than no video at all. And we're on that daily grind, boys. Hope you understand, bros. I really hope you understand. Thank you so much. Have a great day and peace.